King P here,
And Steelio7.
and welcome to another episode of This Week in Metropolis.
Yep, we had a guest on last week's show, which was, we'll say thanks again to Mark for joining us. That was a good episode last week.
It was always a pleasure.
This week, it is just back to the two of us, sadly. But we will have more guests on in future episodes. We're trying to arrange dates at the moment, so watch out for that. But this week, we are back to what seemed to go down quite well a couple of weeks ago, which was our top fives. And we've had a top five request sent in from Ryan Alwood. So thanks for that, Ryan. He has asked us, Matt, what our top five box sets are. So I gave you this this task back in the last week. Again, a struggle because I actually probably had too many to go through on this, and then had to really slim it down. We did discuss whether we were just going to do TV shows or movies. We've decided, I'm assuming you've done the same because I'm pretty sure we discussed this. We're doing a mixture of both.
Yes, that's good. I'm glad you said that. I was thinking, oh my God, he's going to say movies, and I've got mixture.
Yeah. It was actually just documentaries that I was looking for, but
well, funny enough, my number one is a documentary. So,
and I'm guessing I might know what it is, but we'll come to that.
It's not that one.
It's not what I was thinking. Oh, interesting.
Anyway,
well, let's kick off with we'll kick off with your number five then, please, Matt.
Oh, number five is I don't know. You couldn't really call it a guilty pleasure. I guess people are they're possibly mixed reactions to it. My top, number five is Fast and Furious box set, which is this particular one. Though it's not all the films. I do own all the films, but this one is the 1, 2, 3, and 4 in that particular one. I remember seeing the original Fast and Furious when it came out, or not in the cinema. I think when it came out on DVD or whatever afterwards. And I absolutely loved it. I've always been a fan of cars, and just it was that insight into this weird sort of culture of the cars and whatever, but with a fairly decent action film attached to it. And I've just followed through all of the films in the series. What it is now as a series or a franchise, whatever you'd call it, is so different, I think, from the original film. Like you see the original film, and it's a great film in itself. The newer films are a bit more. They are pretty standard action films, aren't they? And try and outdo each other each time. But I do genuinely still enjoy them. It's still a series that I revisit quite often. And it's on TV quite often now.
I mean, you know my thoughts on this, but for the listeners, I do like the Fast and the Furious films. I want to say the first one I thought was incredible. Second one was really good, and then was the third one Tokyo Drift?
Yeah,
that's where I kind of started falling out of love with it a little bit, and then it slowly come back around, mainly because Dwayne Johnson's in the newer ones, and Jason Statham.
Legends of cinema.
Both legends. And they've kind of now gone into that almost, like Mission Impossible always tries to do something a bit more. I feel like that's kind of where they're at now as a brand and as a franchise. It's always trying to get one over the last one, where you've got The Rock, holding onto a chain which is attached to a helicopter or something like that, where he's literally holding it to the whole weight of the helicopter, like in his bare arms.
And that is an actual scene, I believe. That's not even an exaggeration, is it? It's one of us on the back of a truck and he's pulling a helicopter down.
I think all this can mean is that we are going to get to a point where he or whoever the muscle is in future films will be pulling a planet towards them.
Well, do you know what? You say that. Recently, I think it was a week or so ago, Ludacris, can't remember his real name, but very
I think his name is Lou.
Surname Chris. Was being interviewed because he's now in the series, and I think the interviewer said to him, every film you're sort of upping your game. You've jumped out of buildings, blah blah blah. Like I think they raced a submarine, wasn't it, in one of the
Yeah.
recent all this mad stuff. Surely the only place you could take it to now is space. And apparently he gave a funny look and was a bit sort of, oh well, I can't really talk about that. So it suggests that they will actually be in space.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's see. Let's see. I thought Ludacris was in some of the earlier ones. Was he not?
I can't remember which one, but maybe it was 4. It was
Yeah.
his first one, but in the newer sort of ones, certainly
Yeah.
oh no, what am I talking about? No, I'm such an idiot. Yes, he is in. He was in the second one. It was because when Brian, the character, what's his name, who died?
Paul.
Paul Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the second one, he goes to Miami, I think it is, something like that. God, I'm talking as if I've never seen this film. Honestly,
Number 5.
this is one, this is one of my favourites.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, he goes to a place and his mate is Ludacris. He's putting on the races there. But later on, his character changes quite a lot because he's more of a computer sort of expert in the later films, which is a bit odd. But,
It's just to round up on this your number 5 is it's interesting with what happened to Paul Walker that they still carried it on, because you sometimes see, but I think it becomes so big because what number would have been his last one that he was kind of part in?
6 or 7 maybe, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess because they'd got so big as a brand and as a franchise, it could, and it hasn't struggled since then, if you know what I mean. Like Vin Diesel's obviously become the main guy alongside The Rock and Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham, I'd say, with the other characters around him. So
yeah, that's it.
My number 5, not movie related, is the series Prison Break.
Nice.
It seems like forever ago that I watched it, but really enjoyed it for what it was. I thought the characters, the story behind it. Have you seen Prison Break?
Yeah, I watched the first. I want to say I watched the first 2 seasons of that when it was out originally, but then switched off when I think they escaped, didn't they? Like the first one was in prison, then the second series was them escape, and then didn't the second one end with, "Oh, we're going to go back into prison again"?
They basically got put into a prison in Mexico. Yeah, so
that was it. And I thought I've had enough. To be honest.
And you know what? A lot of people would say that it's probably a reason why it wouldn't be in a lot of people's top series of watching, because they kind of went back over the same story. But I mean, I want to say, I might be wrong, and listeners can correct me. There was a writer's strike in America around a certain year, and another series which I'll talk about later suffered from that as well. And I'm pretty sure it was in the same time span where they just went, oh, just put them in prison again. But on the whole, the series was really interesting with the characters. I remember you had wasn't his name Teabag, the one who used to he was awful as a character, but there was still certain elements further down where you did feel sorry for him in cases, and then he'd go and do something to ruin it again. But was it Wentworth Miller? He was the lead, and then his brother, both of which later went on to some DC stuff, Legends of Tomorrow, and one of them's like Mr. Freeze or something. No, it's not Mr. Freeze, but it's there's one who's anyway. That's irrelevant to this, but they worked well together in Prison Break, and I think it helped obviously down the line as well. Although I would have thought they would have been kind of casting bigger roles after that, because I thought the series was one of the top series at the time. So that's my number 5.
Great choice. I used to watch it when it first came out. I thought it was such a. Remember it being such an intriguing story with him and his tattoos and stuff. You're thinking, well, where's this going almost, and so on. Brilliant.
It was like a map, wasn't it, to how to get out and all that stuff. Yeah, very interesting. And he couldn't remember anything, couldn't he? Or have I made that up?
No.
Have I made that up? Honestly, that's one of my favourites as well. We're doing really well with this.
Are you not thinking that there's another series, and I can't remember what it's called, but I've seen quite a few of them, where there's a lady and she wakes up, they find her and she's covered in tattoos and she can't remember. Blind Spot, that's called. And she's covered in tattoos and they try and find her past by analysing the tattoos because it's like
Right.
almost like the story of her life. Are you thinking of that one?
I've not seen that, but I think I've heard of it. But
Yeah, you've just thought the plot of that whole series, basically.
now coming in at number 5, Blind Spot. No, but with Prison Break, for some reason in my head, I thought all the tattoos led to something, or did he do that?
That's how he got to the prison, wasn't it? For his, or how he got out of the prison was his tattoo.
Right. But
you have seen this before.
Of course, I have seen it, but it was a while, like I said, it was a while ago. I just remember it was really engrossing at the time. But
yeah.
was there not?
I thought he got the tattoos, then he gets himself in prison, then he uses the tattoos as a map of how to get out of prison. Yeah.
Right. Dig hole through wall. Anyway, 5-star. Go watch it.